Sziasztok, Ati vagyok.
Hi everyone, this is Ati. Today, I'll be setting up a brand new aquarium for you. Now, I'm speaking Hungarian while filming, but you'll hear this in English. The tank I'm working with today is an Eheim aquarium set. What makes this one so interesting is that it's deeper than your average aquarium, giving us more room to create a sense of depth and layers in the layout. I wanted to design a hardscape that's beginner-friendly, something you could easily try at home yourself. The plants I've chosen are easy to handle, easy to trim, and I tried to match the livestock to the whole atmosphere of the aquarium. To complement this black and red cabinet, I'll use red cherry barbs, which will tie the whole look together nicely. So come along and let's get started.
Tartsatok velem! Ma ezt a gyönyörű Hakkai követ választottam.
For today's layout, I chose this stunning Hakkai stone. I've never actually used it before, but I love its unique shapes and the way the surface is marked with little grooves, probably carved out by wind, water, or time itself. My goal is to create a natural layout, something with a nature feeling, combining stones and wood in a way that feels organic.
Elérni.
But here's the challenge. Hakkai stone isn't the easiest to work with. No wonder Tommy hasn't built with it yet. But we never give up.
Igaz, Gari? Így van.
To position the stones correctly, I'm placing styrofoam underneath. The purpose of the styrofoam is to keep the stone steady so it doesn't wobble. If I were to stack other rocks underneath, the surface wouldn't be flat enough, and the main stone just wouldn't sit as securely. We'll need to carve this a little more, Gary, so that the sand in front doesn't pile up too high and reveal the styrofoam underneath. The idea is to make the stones look like they were once a single formation that time itself split apart. Every stone has a face. If you keep turning it, eventually you'll find the side that looks most exciting. That's the one you want to show. The big question is, should this stone really sit right in the middle? Look how well the cabinet is built. You can clearly see the center point here. And that's not ideal, because in aquascaping, it usually works better if the stones are divided into thirds instead of being placed dead center. And look at this. It turned into a fence again, see? So I've roughly shaped both sides now. My idea is to spread sand with gravel in the front while using a nutrient-rich soil in the back. But of course, I need a way to separate these two areas. The most natural way is to create a sort of barrier, using either stones or wood. That's why I thought of placing a smaller rock here, as if there's a little hollow in the landscape. This way it closes off the front and the back naturally. But of course, I need a way to separate these two areas. To make sure the soil in the back doesn't slide forward, we'll fill the gaps with fine filter mesh. Later, it will all be covered with substrate and disappear completely. Now, place it all the way across. The only issue is that from the side, when customers walk into the shop, they'll be able to see it. So we'll have to find a way to hide that later.
További dekorációnak a korallszínkerfákat választottam.
For wood, I decided to use coral sinker. They're one of my favorites when I want that wild, branchy, natural look. To attach them, I'm using paper towel and liquid superglue. Plus an activator spray that will soon be available in our shop. It makes the bond stronger and keeps the glue from turning white underwater. And that's why we'll also use it when attaching the plants. This is real teamwork. Teamwork is when I don't have to work.
Oh.
What happened? Did the smoke get in your eyes? Let's not forget, this tank will also have plants. So let's bring in a piece of wood that fits here. Hey Gary, please look for a branch, something simple, pointing in this direction.
Egy picit félreteszem ezt, jó? Nem haragszol?
Nem, mi haragudnék?
Hát, ez a te fád volt.
We really struggled with what kind of wood to place in this spot. This is clearly the more dominant side of the layout, so we didn't want to take away from its impact. But the whole scape was leaning too much this way, so we needed something to balance it out. That's why we thought this branch might be the right choice. Now we just need to glue it in place, and then we can move on to filling the substrate. Before we continue building, adding the substrate and planting, I'd like to show you this Eheim aquarium set. As you can probably already see, this isn't an usual green aqua set. It's the Eheim clearscape 73-liter model, designed specifically for aquascaping. The size is 60 by 35 by 35 centimeters, which is a little deeper than the standard 60-piece style aquariums. That extra 5-centimeter depth gives us the chance to create an even more exciting layout and a much deeper, more dramatic view. The glass is opti-white, giving a crystal clear view. The cabinet is laminated with a striking red edge that makes it unique. Inside, there's plenty of space for the external filter and accessories, with practical compartments. One of my favorite features is the wide slot at the sides with brush-like bristles, which makes routing filter pipes easy, whether you want them in front or back. For example, I can place the outflow pipe at the front and the inflow at the back. The cabinet stands on 6 practical legs, which makes opening the doors easy. The doors run the full height of the cabinet, and in the spirit of minimal design, there are no handles. Both doors open with a simple push-to-open mechanism. For the first layer, we're using ADA Power Sand Advance, one of the best base substrates you can get. Now, this one branch is really in our way, because we want to plant that whole back section densely with greenery. Luckily, Gary is one of the best woodcutters around, so he'll take care of it. For the second layer, we're using ADA Aqua Soil Amazonia version 2. This substrate plays a key role in supporting healthy, balanced plant growth, helping the roots absorb nutrients efficiently. Here's a little trick for you. If you slide a flat object between the glass and the fine filter mesh, you can neatly push the soil in front of it and hide the filter mesh from view. The same goes for the nutrient substrate too. For decoration, there are some beautiful sands available. In this case, I'm using ADA Kumu, specifically this brownish brook version. Underwater, it blends beautifully with the Hakkai stone, and since I don't want a beach-like look, I'll sprinkle some small pebbles at the transition where the sand meets the stone. One bag was more than enough. All right, the hardscape and the substrate are finished, so now we can start planting. My plan is to place a surprising plant right here, a Nymphea lotus. It's unusual to see in a small 60 to 70 liter aquarium, since its leaves can grow quite large, but that's exactly what makes it exciting. The lotus will develop beautiful, deep red leaves, and behind it I'll plant Houtonia palustris. Its bright green color will make the red of the lotus really stand out, almost jump out of the layout in this area. Our goal is to keep the lotus low over time. Normally, it sends its leaves all the way to the water surface. But from experience, we know that if you keep trimming it regularly, eventually the plant adapts and the leaves stay low, creating a striking centerpiece without overshadowing everything else. Next, we'll place epiphyte plants into the gaps between the wood and stones. For this spot, I chose the beautiful Microsorum pteropus petite. And here's Anubias pangolino, one of the smallest Anubias varieties. It looks fantastic tucked into the roots and crevices of the wood. A good tip is not to plant all your epiphytes at the same height. Play with the placement, some lower, some higher, and that variation adds much more depth and excitement to the overall layout. In the foreground, I'll be planting Cryptocorin parva. We'll place it directly into the sand, since from experience, we know it doesn't actually need nutrient soil. It grows perfectly fine in plain sand. In the back left corner, I'll add Houtonia palustris. It's a plant we don't use very often, but it has these delicate, finely divided leaves that look amazing underwater. Over time, the immersed leaves will transform into true underwater leaves, becoming even more elegant. Later, I plan to shape the back corner of Houtonia into a gentle curve, an arch that will naturally draw the eye toward the red leaves of the lotus. On the right side, I'm planting Rotala Wyanad, mixing it a little with the Houtonia. That blend gives the layout a more natural, dynamic look. Right now, the plants are still tiny, since they came in vitro cups, but Rotala grows quickly and will soon reach a good height. In the center, I'll use Rotala indica bonsai. This plant is interesting because it grows only about 10 to 15 centimeters tall and then stops, staying compact. Under strong light, its green leaves can shift to an orange hue, which adds a really unique touch. Where two different plant groups meet, I like to blend them slightly into each other. That way, the transition looks more natural, without harsh dividing lines. Next is Eriocolon cinereum, a very interesting grass-like plant with shoots that look almost like elongated flower stalks. It works beautifully in the foreground or midground. And then the icing on the cake, the cherry on top, the lotus. I left this spot open just for it, and I'll even try planting it here by hand. If our plan works, this lotus will grow into a stunning centerpiece, surrounded on both sides by vibrant green plants. In front, the epiphytes will gently frame it, creating a natural cradle. This will become the main focal point of the aquarium. As we've often talked about, that's the beauty of the golden ratio. Placing a strong focal point about 1/3 into the layout makes the whole scape far more captivating. And here, that role belongs to the lotus. So, what do you think? Will this work?
Ja, jó lesz.
Five weeks have passed, and the aquarium is starting to take on its final shape. Though the plants, especially in the background, still need more time to grow stronger. My plan is to eventually shape the background stem plants into a V formation. But for that, they'll need to mature a bit more. One plant we've almost unfairly overlooked in this channel is Houtonia palustris. It has such beautiful, multi-branched leaves, and it's actually quite easy to care for. Definitely beginner-friendly. Over time, we want to spread more of it in the back and trim it into that same flowing shape. What's been really interesting these past weeks is the lotus we planted in the lower left corner. It grew so quickly and with such large leaves that it started shading out the plants beneath it. We had no choice but to cut it back hard, just to give the plants underneath a chance to recover. The rest of the plants are developing just as you'd expect after 5 weeks in a tank like this. And the sandy, gravelly foreground, it turned out exactly the way I imagined. It gives me the same feeling I had as a kid, when I'd walk along the banks of the Danube, running on the shore and watching the water birds and little creatures by the river. It's the same sand, the same pebbly texture I remember from the riverbank. So I'm really glad I could bring that feeling back into this aquarium. I also really like the Hakkai stone. This is the first time we've used it ourselves, but we've seen it in so many Japanese aquariums, and it always works beautifully. The shapes are amazing, and they pair perfectly with these coral sinker woods. The plants attached to the wood add so much natural character. It really feels as if they grew there over time, washed into place, settling into the cracks, taking root, and slowly forming larger colonies. For livestock, we added cherry barbs. These beautiful crimson red fish match perfectly with the red trim on this black cabinet. It was a small detail, but I wanted to bring the whole Eheim set into harmony. The Eheim Professional 350 filter runs quietly beneath the tank, creating crystal clear water. The biological balance settled surprisingly quickly. After about 10 days, we no longer measured any negative parameters in the tank. As I mentioned earlier, I designed this setup to be beginner-friendly and easy to recreate. But at the same time, it's still very much a high-tech planted aquarium because we're also running CO2 injection. That's one of the key reasons why, after just 5 weeks, the plants have grown so vigorously. If you want your plants to grow faster and stronger, I definitely recommend adding CO2 as well. In this tank, we fit a 2-kilogram cylinder neatly inside the cabinet. And for a little over 70 liters of water, that single cylinder will last almost an entire year. If you'd like to check out my earlier videos, where I've built other simple, easy-to-create planted aquariums, just click right here. And if you'd like to see more aquascapes like this one in the future, don't forget to subscribe. Goodbye!
Köszönöm a figyelmeteket, sziasztok!